Well, this is quite an interesting development. A popular YouTuber going by TheDeviousMelon has recently made a video talking about the current state of SCP Secret Laboratory. He explains why he's unhappy with the current state of the game, and wishes things could return to how it was back in the good old days. Many people have made videos kind of like this, including myself, but this one was different. This video has gotten so many thousands of views in just a short number of weeks. He got a number of other SL YouTubers in on the video to talk about the things they'd like to see changed in SL. A Discord server I'm in that tracks the development of a different SCP multiplayer game has recently had a major spike in new members, including TheDeviousMelon himself. My own YouTube channel has had a significant spike in views and subscribers from my SCP content, despite the lack of uploads. And to top it all off, Northwood's most recent upload to YouTube received a wave of comments asking to add back horror stingers, a major point of discussion in Melon's video. Soon after, Northwood announced that they're adding new horror stingers. I absolutely have to talk about this whole situation. There are so many things about it that changed the SCP gaming industry, and is just a fascinating observation. Here's my reaction to it all.
The way we play SCP Secret Laboratory isn't what the game is set out for anymore.
I think TheDeviousMelon makes some very good points in this video, some of which have been echoed by other creators for years, whose concerns have been ignored until now. For example, the point about the game being so fast-paced and overly competitive nowadays feels nothing at all like what we fell in love with back in the day. Those long, drawn-out matches had a lot of value. I also agree with Melon's point about the absence of horror and spooky atmosphere. That topic could use its own video. Wait, what? They removed the long, uninterrupted hallways in Heavy?
And because of that, Hubert made the zone have more doors and less clutter.
God, I love balancing.
Bro, why? That was one of the main selling points of Heavy Duty. I loved these open halls so much. They just cluttered up the whole zones with doors all over again. I didn't even know about this because I've been away from the game for so long. What a downgrade, Northwood.
We're throwing in the R slur every now and then.
You're retarded, Jesus Christ.
Thrown in with some occasional homophobia.
Massive homosexual.
And racism.
Scanning for Mexicans. We got a Mexican! He's resisting arrest and he's black! I'm taking the shot!
Whoops. Sorry guys, I was just watching one of Northwood's official partners.
Okay, come on. That's a really low move to pull, Melon. This guy's probably not an actual racist or homophobe or whatever. He's just making edgy jokes to try to be funny. Admittedly, the jokes aren't very creative or funny. Maybe you find them offensive, but bringing attention to this in a hit piece video, presumably to try to get this guy fired or disassociated from Northwood, is just a really low blow. Low blow. I am aware that opinion is gonna lose me some subscribers. It is really fascinating that he was able to get so many creators together for this video. A desire for change must have been building up in the community for a very long time. It isn't just me.
Beamer Breaker. God, I miss you every single day. Man, the social dynamics this thing would bring to dealing with SCP-106 was some of the funniest stuff this game had to offer.
Yes, thank you. Bring back the Femur Breaker. I already made a video giving ideas how to do that. Check that out. In terms of Melon's points about the actual game, I agree with most of them. However, I think it's worth taking into account that there are other viewpoints in the SCP community.
Godzilla 2000
There was another part of the game that helped create the feeling of horror throughout the facility.
versus Anguirus.
SCP SL's appeal is comedy and irony, not being spooky. Horror never lasts.
Monsters fight!
It is impossible for Northwood Studios to give everyone everything they want. People have conflicting interests, and with only having one option for an SCP multiplayer game right now, Hubert unfortunately has to pick a side sometimes. Despite this reality, it is a good thing that we have people who can do this. It's a good thing that there are YouTubers who can point out something about the game in a video and have that video actually influence the direction of the game's development. That is something a lot of communities don't have. Either way, it is still extremely important for there to be other SCP games available. Melon made a plug for Discord servers relating to older and modded versions of SL.
If you guys feel the same way and prefer the older versions of the game, luckily enough there's an archive Discord to play any version you want. There's also this cool modded version of SCP SL called Tajmod that me and the boys are really excited for.
I support this. I support attention being brought to other SCP multiplayer experiences. It is not enough for them to have small communities with average gameplay. They need to have significant enough sizes and game quality to be reasonably compared to SL. I'm going to take part in this endeavor. There is a game currently in development in the Godot engine called SCP Echoes. My understanding is it aims to be its own unique experience that isn't anything like Secret Lab. However, it coincidentally aspires to offer many aspects of old SL that we missed, such as a more casual, social experience that values horror and takes place in long, drawn-out matches. I encourage you to check out this game's development in the Discord server linked in the description. This is where my existing subscribers are going to ask where my own SCP game fits into all this. For newer viewers, I have been making an SCP multiplayer game myself for the past year. How is my project going to affect this new development in the SCP gaming community? Gonna be honest, I greatly underestimated how hard this was gonna be when first announcing the project, especially in an engine like Godot. Most developed systems are very basic, without any 3D assets to represent them. Even for the ones I have made for them, they are very simple and slopped together, because I only just started the 3D modeling skill. Additionally, multiplayer networking makes everything 10 times more difficult. Other SCP developers have teams of people all doing different tasks, which drastically speeds up productivity of the game. I, on the other hand, have so far been doing things all by myself. I could not even dream of the possibility of catching up in progress with these huge or even small studios, especially when I have other projects on the channel that deserve just as much of my attention. Right now, my primary goal is growing this channel to a threshold where I can start making substantial income from it that can afford an independent living. Until that happens, I cannot guarantee the eventual completion and release of my game. The purpose of these videos and devlogs for now is to inspire innovation in the SCP community. Even if I end up canceling the game for some reason, if my videos about it are able to influence creative decisions made for existing SCP games, that is enough for me to consider my project a success. However, if I am able to establish a development team, if I can get a team of 3D modelers, animators, sound designers, GD script programmers, the chances of my project reaching completion will rise substantially. A team of developers would be able to put in the development time for me while I remain focused on the YouTube channel. If you are experienced in any game development skills and are interested in my project, reach out to me in my Discord linked in the description and my channel page. If you aren't sure if my game is worth supporting, I already have a dozen videos detailing some of my progress and creative vision. But before you check those out, let me try to sell it to you here in this video. The gameplay ideas for my SCP game are heavily inspired by Halo, my favorite video game of all time, the older ones, 3 and Reach. The amount of creativity and game strategy and custom world building this game provides is only limited by your imagination. The SCP game industry needs something like this. The graphical and atmospheric ideas for my SCP game are heavily inspired by Lethal Company and Half-Life 1. It is not important to me that assets are as detailed or high poly as possible. Settling on low poly, simple assets is a very effective cost-saving approach that gets things done faster. It also gives the game its own sense of identity and can even add to the horror, which is something I value. Even if I don't succeed at actually being scary, just trying to be creates a really immersive atmosphere that absorbs you into the SCP world. New SL has taken a very competitive direction. Old SL and the new SCP projects in the works strive for a more casual experience. I would like to position my project as a mediator between the two.
Temperance. How miserly. All things
things in moderation, all things in balance. You will live a middle life, buried in a middle grave.
Designing your game in a way that encourages competitive behavior only rewards the sweatiest of players. Tasks like learning recoil patterns and collecting SCP items to increase your team's spawn tickets is just so immersion-breaking and out of your way to expect the average player to partake in. This creates a huge barrier of entry and saps a lot of fun out of the game. At the same time, balance does matter a lot.
So if I actually see a comment about balancing or whatever, I'm actually going to break something.
This take is naive. Games exist in a sandbox of features meant for the player to enjoy. For the player to enjoy these features, it's important that they all have a place to shine, where they can all be utilized effectively to reward the player for using them. Balance is what guarantees this. Without balance, certain features become disproportionately more useful and important than others. The game becomes over-centralized around which of those dominate the meta. This creates a very one-dimensional and stale experience that discourages you from thinking outside the box and can sap out just as much fun as a competitive game design. It's okay to make things hard, but you can make things hard in functionally interesting ways. Hard in a way that promotes creativity. Hard in a way that preserves immersion and adds fun to the experience. SL has this cool forklift prop and heavy containment. I would like my game to have a usable forklift that can move around various structures, such as cardboard boxes. In this example, you could use the forklift to transport large quantities of loot that you might not have space for in your inventory. Most SCP games depend on a procedurally generated map design. I would instead like my game to have fixed, carefully designed levels. I would also like a level builder, kind of like Forge and Halo, where players can handcraft their own ideas. Procedurally generated maps may be a bonus feature that gets added post-launch if there's enough demand for it. In SL and all currently existing lookalikes, dying sucks because you spend so much time in spectator chat not actually playing the game. Fixing this is one of my most important goals with this project. I want the player to always have something to do throughout the match. There are already many ideas I've come up with for how to achieve this, but that is a topic so complex that it needs its own video. I want to be more faithful to official SCP lore than what SL has become. I don't want the game to be a shoot-on-sight simulator. I want SCPs to have unique special containment procedures. For example, I don't want 106 to be killable with gunfire. A core aspect of 106's identity is that he is immune to direct physical damage. I want to be faithful to that because I want players to feel truly immersed in the SCP world. 106 has canonically established weaknesses that aid in its containment, and I want the player to be forced to utilize those weaknesses. If you don't have any game development skills but would still like to support the project in some way, the best thing you can do right now is subscribing to the channel. In the future, I would like to accept financial support from my supporters as well, but it will take a lot of planning to figure out how to implement that in a way that gives the fans something nice in return. Something of more substance than, oh, you get a cool role in the Discord. I don't want donations. I want a real business strategy. I want fans of my channel to feel like they're actually getting something valuable for financially supporting me. So, what's the future looking like? Is this the beginning of the end for Secret Lab? Are these new upcoming projects going to kill it, or are they chasing a trend that will die out and leave us with nothing? I think it is unrealistic to expect an all-out death of SL. They have a huge resource advantage and have years of experience. Their player base is at a very comfortable margin, while these new upcoming projects haven't even proved themselves yet. SL is going to get by just fine for the foreseeable future. If you are one of those people hoping for the death of this game, be careful what you wish for. With that said, Melon has exposed a huge amount of dissatisfaction from a significant portion of the game's community. These people have felt disregarded for the past several years, and that is something Northwood can't ignore anymore.
We got people to discuss it in their Discord and on the Reddit. We got Northwood staff to admit that he did have some points, but what takes the cake is that one of the biggest points in his video, the absence of horror stingers, got a teaser made about them coming back, and even crazier, it's already public. It's clear that they're willing to listen to the community then, but I can't help but feel weird about it. Why did it take this video and the uproar from most of the community to get this done when people, including Melon himself, have been asking for this like for 2 years?
The reason SL's player base has remained so high is because they practically have a monopoly over multiplayer SCP games. Even if players aren't happy with the game's current state, they don't have other SCP games to turn to that will give them what they want. However, these new projects are eventually going to come out, and for the first time ever, there is going to be at least one SCP game with potential to be better than SL, and that is something Northwood Studios is going to have to take into account. People want horror back, people want casual play, people want a redesigned surface zone and new playable SCPs. These are desires that will need to be seriously considered. We're already seeing the results of that. I do not expect any of these games to take the throne or anything like that, and I don't think that should be our goal. However, Northwood is going to have to change course, because if they don't, they risk losing enormous portions of their player base to these new upcoming projects. The SCP gaming community should be a multipolar environment, a place where no one game has all the influence, a place where competition exists to incentivize developers to innovate. This is why I was really excited for the game SCP-5K. 5K is a multiplayer, predominantly PvE SCP game that has been in development for 6 years in the Unreal Engine by a studio called Affray Interactive. There is no other SCP game in existence right now with better graphics than what you see here. You can tell that a lot of effort was put into this game, and the development team are passionate about what they do. I think 5K had a giant opportunity to stand shoulder to shoulder with SL that went completely wasted. This is SL's player base, and this is 5K's player base. I believe this is an injustice. 5K needs more love. My next video about SCP Games is going to be all about this. I will be talking about the current state of SCP-5K, the things I like about the game, things I don't like, and how I think 5K could expand in the future to give the game the player base it deserves. If you are interested in that video, be sure to like this one and subscribe to my channel.